paid family and medical leave programs are popping up around the country. As of late January, Investopedia counted 9 states and the District of Columbia that either offer a plan or soon will. Senator Julia Coleman has a proposal to offer the benefit here in Minnesota, and she joins me to talk about it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on.
Paid family and medical leave plans have not traditionally been a priority of Republicans, and the colleagues who joined you when you announced this initiative were all younger Republicans with young families. Is there a sea change among the younger members of your party?
I think there definitely is a change happening. The members who joined me at the caucus, while they haven't given birth themselves, they have seen their spouses or their friends and their friends' spouses go through that. And we're seeing that one of the biggest things that we can do to help address issues like maternal health, maternal mental health, is to talk about these things, talk about paid family leave. And that's one of the things I love about my caucus is we have several young families, moms and dads, walking through life right now with growing families in Minnesota that are experiencing their priorities firsthand.
And it is hard to be parents of young children. There's a lot of expenses, there's illnesses and colds and all kinds of things that really create difficulties in scheduling and careers and work. But your proposal is a little bit different from what we have traditionally become accustomed to hearing about from the DFL, because it would change state law so that private insurance companies can offer products to businesses as a means to offering the benefit. Why approach it this way?
My philosophy is always, can we find a free market solution before we look to the government? And is there a way that government getting out of the way can perhaps solve this problem? And I think that's what we found here, is that by government allowing the authorization of this product that providers want, that businesses want, that employers want, we're solving this issue. We're expanding access to paid family leave in a way that's simple and efficient.
If the benefit is purchased by businesses on an individual basis, does that mean then that each business gets to sort of set the parameters as to what is being offered? So for example, one small business might offer 80% of wage replacement with up to 12 weeks, or another employer might offer 90%, or another employer might say, I'll split the cost with you. Would it be different according to the employer and what kind of plan they choose?
Exactly, and that's the biggest point, is it's customizable. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. For example, if you are a firm that works a lot in construction and most of your employees are men, you can maybe tailor your benefit package to be more tailored towards, say, if you have a sick child or a sick parent that you want to take care of versus maternal time off. If you have a company that has a lot of growing families, it may be wise to tailor it more towards that. Each business can decide how they want to tailor it, how much they want to cover, and what makes sense for them, their budget, and the budget of their employees.
And I imagine then this is a recruiting tool in this tight labor market that seems to be emerging to attract new employees?
Absolutely. That's the number one thing we're hearing from small businesses. Almost all of them have help wanted signs in the window right now, but they're struggling to compete with, say, big, large companies in this state that already offer amazing paid family leave benefits, but they can't afford that. And so our plan offers the ability for them to compete with these large companies by having these competitive benefit packages. And if they can't afford the insurance product, that's where our tax credits for small businesses come into play.
And that is my next question. There are tax credits. Will businesses then who offer this leave benefit to their employees get a tax benefit? And how does that actually work?
So it's specifically tailored with small businesses in mind. We don't want large companies that can already offer paid family leave to take advantage of it, and then there's no benefit there for the small companies. So if you have 50 or fewer employees and you're struggling to afford this competitive benefit package, then you will get up to $3,000 per employee you cover in a tax credit. That'll enable them to be players in this market, to offer these competitive benefit packages and really help these small mom and pop shops out.
So we're talking about paid family leave and not paid family and medical leave. So just to be clear, what is the difference between paid family leave and paid family and medical leave?
Well, we already have medical leave in the state of Minnesota. We have short-term disability and we have long-term disability. So those are covered, but where there's gaps in the system is the paid family leave portion. If you're taking care of a parent at the end of their lives, my in-laws experience taking care of children at the end of their lives. If you are welcoming a new child through adoption, foster care, birth, and you're the mom or the dad, those aren't covered yet in Minnesota, whereas medical leave is. So this expands access to those paid family leave options.
Now, when I had my children, I was an adjunct faculty member. I was self-employed, and I had another part-time job. I was very busy, and I was only able to take off 1 week for each child. Is there any way for people who are self-employed or part-time employees or work multiple jobs to be able to access this benefit?
There's a couple of avenues they can take, and first of all, I'm sorry that you only got 1 week off. I can't imagine how hard that would have been. There's an option, it's written broadly enough that people could be covered if they so chose to be in that aspect. There's also, it's written broadly enough where trades, business partnerships can offer it to their employees. And then there's another avenue that our caucus is looking at, and this is through Senator Carla Nelson's tax bill, that would offer a tax credit for the individual or the employer to cover the expenses that would be taken during time home to, for in that example, bond with a new baby.
The DFL has been proposing a plan for several years now that I mentioned earlier, and it's a state-managed program based on sort of the uninsured or unemployed insurance kind of system that is already within the state of Minnesota. In that case, all employers are required to pay. So with your model, it is a perhaps smaller model based on what individual businesses need. So there isn't necessarily the scale that there would be for the DFL plan. But what is your take on that? I mean, is there a scale issue here?
I don't think so. We're seeing immense success in states that are trying similar rollouts of the paid family leave insurance, so much so that they're, I believe in New Hampshire, removing the state as one of the insurance providers because the private market is doing so well. And the reason we're hearing from insurance companies that they want to come into states like Minnesota is because it is faring so well. What we hear from small businesses, what we hear from employers is help me to access these benefits. We don't hear, give me threats of fines, give me another tax, give me another mandate. And so I think this addresses what they're asking for without all of that.
Senator Julia Coleman, thank you so much.
Thank you.